You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Pat are going to discuss the new addition to the Chicago Bulls, which is for Torrey Craig, how we see him fitting in on the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about how the Bulls bench is rounding out pretty nicely so far with AK's moves, and we're going to talk about the Summer League team and why we're excited to watch it. We'll get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. But Pat, enough of that. Let's get into it. The Bulls have made an acquisition. One of the things that we knew we needed this season was size coming into that. And so they have now signed for Torrey Craig, who stats aren't going to jump out the gym at you in any case of the imagination. Was a pretty solid shooter, 39% from deep last season, taking almost 4 3-pointers per game. Career average around 35, 36% off the top of my head. But he brings that defensive mindset, and I like how it's seemingly like we're going to have dogs defensively coming off the bench at almost every level. Pat, how you feeling about the Torrey Craig signing?
I mean, he fits, right? 6'7", good wingspan. Had one really good three-point shooting season in his career. You know what I mean? Like he fits a Bulls type of player. So I'm excited to get him in here. I think he's a rotational piece, nice piece off your bench. Think he could come in, play that power forward position for you a little bit. I don't want to see him at small forward, although that he can play some, and I think that he did play some for the Phoenix Suns last season. But at the end of the day, I like what this. I like this acquisition for AK because, again, just fits a need. Solid guy, comes in, does his job, gets the job done, gets back out. That's what you want to see from this Bulls team at this point. You want to have enough of those guys that are going to be able to do their job, and you don't have to worry about them, so that the star players can kind of, they can take the show. They can take the next step. They can get to that next level. And I think you're getting players in here that fill that need. When I look at a guy like Torrey Craig, I mean, 111.8 defensive rating for his career. He's had seasons sub 110. I believe last season he was 112. He's a solid piece. He's a solid guy, solid defender. He's nothing. It's not an oh my God move. It's not an I can't believe the Bulls were able to find this guy on the market move. It's a listen, this guy fills a role that you needed him to play, and that's what he's going to be for this team. And I can count on him to be that. Things that I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that you worded that because he is a player that you know what he's going to bring you. Like I said, is it the most amazing signing? No, we're not can't say that. But the thing that we needed on this team was legitimate size, and so I feel like he brings a lot of what. He's not the athlete that Javonte is at all, but I tell you what. You catch him on the fast break, and if he catches you slipping, he's going to yam it on your head. Yeah. But outside of that, like he brings that defensive dog mentality. He's probably a better three-point shooter, more consistent than Javonte Green, and he brings that. I initially on the signing, I really wasn't quite as high on it as I was the Javon Carter signing, and I'm still not. I'm not as high on Javon Carter, but still in being realistic and looking at what he brings to the team. Every bit of his skill set is needed. Now, the age, the concern of, hey, is he going to still be able to bring it? Is that three-point shooting going to stay consistent? All those I feel are valid questions, but one thing that you can bet on him what he's going to do, he is going to defend, and he's going to play like a dog, and we need more dogs on this team.
I mean, and I think here's the thing, right? Somebody who's been in a winning situation can bring that kind of energy to the Bulls. You know what I mean? Like those are the little things, the subtle things that you probably don't think about as much. The one thing with Torrey Craig that I know is that, like I said, he's somebody that you just don't have to worry about. You got too many people that you have to worry about on this team. You hope that he can come in and he can be that guy who is the voice of, hey, this is how we're going to do things. This is a standard that the coach has set in place. And I think that's a reason you go out and you sign a guy like this kind of as a I don't want to say as a culture setter, but one of those guys that maintains it, right? A guy that maintains the culture that you're trying to set here. And I think that Torrey Craig could be a good addition to that. I mean, here's the question that I have for you, though, right? Like everybody's talking about a solid 3-and-D guy, Realistically, he's got one good season of 3.
Yeah, but he has some solid.
He's got
also,
okay.
He's got okay, right?
But he's got one season where you're like, yeah, that's a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
Can he maintain what we saw that last season in Phoenix here in Chicago, where, of course, that last season in Phoenix, right? Chris Paul, Devin Booker, eventually you end up with freaking Kevin Durant on your team. Yeah, I mean, like it makes it a little easier. People are paying less attention to you on the 3 ball when those guys are on your team.
I think here's what I'll say. We've seen that the power forward in this offense, unless Billy Donovan changes it, gets wide open corner 3s.
Yeah.
I trust that Torrey Craig is going to be able to hit those. So by the nature of that and what I've seen from this offense, I'm going to trust it. Now, I'm not going to say let's go out and run three sets for him a game to get him wide open at the 3, but I'll say by the natural way that this offense runs, I think that he's going to get some open 3s, and I trust that he's going to be able to hit them down at least a decent clip, right? Maybe not that 39% clip, but at least a decent clip. And one thing I also like about him and the Javon Carter signing, playoff experience. We don't have a lot of playoff experience on this team. 75 playoff games as he's played in his career.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think the one thing that stands out to me about him, especially when you bring the playoff experiences into it, is the timing of how he makes his plays defensively, the timing of how like he's not a guy that you talk about as a foul trouble guy. He's not a guy that you talk about as a, like he could be a guy to me that is, when Drummond has those moments, we got to go with Torrey Craig at the 5. Is that gross? A little bit. But welcome to Bulls basketball, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I think that he's a player, like I said, solid, knows where he's going to be. And you can't knock the fact that 79 games last season, did have a little bit of injury that season before, I believe.
No, I got traded in the middle of that season.
Got traded in the middle too, but how many games he played that season?
Oh, you're talking about 2000. Yeah, you're right. Only 9 games played in 2021-22. Is that
21-22, I believe, only 9. I'm trying to see.
No, I'm looking at postseason. Give me a second.
He got traded back and forth.
So no, 21-22, he played for Pacers.
Oh, he played for
Phoenix.
Milwaukee. Yeah.
And he played 78 games. That's basically a full season.
That's a full season. That's a full season. So a guy who's been consistent last couple of years, been on the floor the last couple of years. Those are the things that you want at the end of the day. Again, it's not. I mean, we're obligated to do 10-minute segments on this. It's solid. It's solid. Like that's the part. And I've seen people come out against this, like they came out against the Javon Carter signing. This isn't the sexy signing. This isn't the signing that we wanted. There were better names on the market. But what do those names do?
Yeah.
These guys fill a need. The Javon Carters, the Torrey Craigs fill a need. I can't give you 10 minutes of praise on a Torrey Craig because he's not that kind of player. He's an amazing, he's a guy who's been an amazing defender in his career, and he goes out and he just plays his role. And I think we need that because he already has his role identified.
Yeah.
He's never played a game for the Bulls. I know what his role is. I've seen Ayo Dosunmu for 2 seasons. I still really don't know what his role is.
Well, here's the question.
Possibly not on this team. We'll talk about that too.
We'll talk about that too. But I'm going to ask you about this though. You say that. Do we know his role? Because if Patrick Williams comes in passive again, you're looking at Torrey Craig possibly being your starting 4.
Do you go veteran there? That would be the only question that I would ask.
I mean, who else are you going to go with?
I think you have some young guys on your team that you would like to see push. And
true, with
what you have now in your lineup, if it includes a Javon Carter, Zach LaVine, DeMar, I'm assuming nothing's really happening with DeMar, so I'm assuming he's going to be around here. And Vooch, maybe that's the time where you could say, okay, we're in our 4th year now, P. Will as passive P. We need to find somebody at this 4 position. We've got 2 guys that technically can play it on our roster. And Adama Sanago, if he makes the team, and Julian Phillips. Do we just try and start pushing them out there for the long term on that.
There's zero chance Adama Sanago, only because he's on a two-way contract and he can only play 15 games before you got to convert it to an actual contract. And we probably won't have the open roster spot. So I don't see Adama Sanago in this first year playing much. I think he's honestly probably going to replace kind of what Dalen Terry did in the G League next season.
Yeah.
But I will say that Julian Phillips offers a potential there, mainly because he's on a guaranteed deal. If he comes into training, you already know, much like Torrey Craig, defensively, you don't know at the NBA level yet, but even if his shot isn't falling, defensively and in fast breaks, he ain't going to pass up nothing. And by the video that they showed, and I don't know if you heard it or not, the shooting coaches already come out and talked about Phillips. They've already got him back to shooting the shot style that he was doing in high school. They got away from the college shot. So
that's not even surprising to me because, he's just, again, you want to talk about a role player, college basketball. He took 8 shots, and then he's on one of those teams like P. Will, right? Where you go look at the rest of the team, and you're like, the whole team took 8 shots. How do you do that? So I wasn't surprised by that. I saw Julian Phillips, and I was like, when everybody was like, he couldn't shoot in college, I was like, yeah, it's hard to make threes when you only take 1 a game.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that remains to be seen. But next up, we're going to talk about how that bench is rounding out. I think we're both pretty high on that. But first, before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. You may ask, how does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they go on to score more or less than the PrizePicks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. You know something? I'm going to say this. I'm a little bit jealous that we don't have an ad read that has something as funny as Glizzy Gladiators in it.
Hey, listen. I mean, you got to watch yourself when you're on those kind of reads, bro. And if y'all want to know where that's from, man, check out that episode we did with the boys over at CHGO. Because my God, Matt Peck was wilding on that one, bro. I swear, like he added it in. I feel like they didn't send that over. Like he added that in. Who just throws an eggplant emoji into stuff, bro? I'm not buying
Exactly. It says Glizzy Gladiators. That was wild,
that was a tough time.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. So the Bulls bench is rounding out. You've added now Javon Carter, who I know you say you see as a bench player, which is fine. I see him probably starting. I see Kobe going to that bench. But either way, you got Javon Carter or Kobe White. You got Alex Caruso, maybe even Dalen Terry coming off that bench. You got Torrey Craig, Andre Drummond. Did I miss somebody? Why do I feel like I'm missing somebody? But either way, it seems like that bench is rounding out now. We kind of have an idea if Ayo Dosunmu comes back, things like that, of what that bench is going to look like.
That's who you were missing.
That's what I was missing. That's probably that's
it feels
tough.
Weird. It feels weird.
That's tough. But how are you feeling about how the bench is rounding out, Pat?
I'm not mad at it. I mean, listen, it sounds like a bench. It sounds like a solid rotational bench. It sounds like the type of bench that you want to head into the season with. You got depth there. I could see multiple players that go out there and have an impact in different ways, right? Why was I about to say Andrew Bynum? That threw me all the way out. Andre Drummond. Hey, yo. That almost deserves it. No, it does, actually. Champion or not. You know what I mean? That's disrespectful.
If they bring Bynum in for our bench, we're just going to wrap the season up.
We did have Tristan Thompson. That's basically just bad Bynum. But no, I mean, realistically, it's a good bench. It's a solid bench. I see Andre Drummond as a guy that can go out there, block shots, rebound. He's going to get 7 rebounds off his own shot. He can put back. He can put the ball back in, create second chance opportunities. as long as he's not giving you 4 fouls in the first half. Alex Caruso, you already know what he's going to be able to bring in. He's a dominant player defensively, absolutely dominant player defensively. And I think this season he'll be allowed to actually play his role of a defender and not the person who people are like, hey, why isn't he scoring more? Because that's not what we paid him to do. Like, I see how guys' jobs fit in. Kobe White's your offensive spark off of the bench. You know, hopefully Patrick Williams isn't sitting there, but if he is and everything switches up, that's a whole different thing. But Dalen Terry hopefully is your energy off of the bench. Like, I see all of those roles. The question mark comes in with the starters in the rotation, and are they going to be able to give you that second half of the season? I talked about this with when I did my first video today. We've done a lot of content today, bro. Like, this is my 4th podcast today. So we've done a lot of content today.
It's my 6th. So hey, it is what it is, bro.
We working out here is what we saying. But when the Bulls have had a point guard, they have a 61% win percentage. I'm talking about the point guards that we say were a point guard, right? Pat Bev, Lonzo Ball, 61% win percentage. 35, I believe, and 22 was how it ended up stacking out at the end of it. That feels like what you're rebuilding here. You need your starters to take that pressure off of the bench, because I think that you have a bench that is going to be able to come in and just do their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, we have a bench that I think everybody knows and has a defined and clear role for the most part, right? Dalen Terry still, of course, a question mark, but I think that kind of plays into Dalen Terry's strengths if he does get minutes, is that he's a Swiss Army knife. He can play about 3 different positions. So I'm not really worried. If they want to play Dalen Terry, they're going to find minutes at whatever position
point guard.
Play Dalen Terry.
Could be
point guard.
Point guard.
Mean,
okay, I bet. All right, cool. All right, cool.
I'm
just trying to
I'm not saying that he can't play point guard. Like, it's possible. Like, Dalen Terry could play the 1, 2, or 3. And hell, AK's even said, I want to see him play some small ball 4.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
I take that. He said small ball 5 during summer league last season.
Ball 5.
He said he wanted to see Dalen Terry play some small ball 5. I have no idea. But so where the roster sits right now, including Karlik Jones, Marko Simonovic, and Ayo Dosunmu, who the first two, Karlik and Marco, have non-guaranteed contracts right now with guaranteed dates that are fastly approaching. And
who are those last 3 you said?
Karlik, Marco, Ayo.
All right, cool.
All right. And so including those 3 right now, that means we have 1 remaining open roster spot at all. So I really don't expect all 3 of those guys, maybe, because you got to look at the Bulls. We have hopefully the disabled player exception coming in. We still have $6 million of the mid-level exception because Torrey Craig was signed as a vet minimum signing, so it doesn't cut into your mid-level exception. And we still potentially have the biannual exception to use. So we still have some spending power. And because of that, I mean, listen, I've already said it before. I don't want to see nobody on the roster that you can't or won't use. And Marco, that fits the bill. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they decide to use him. But with that right now, potentially 3 open roster spots left to fill, if not 1 at least. I think that the bench is in a solid spot. I still would like to see. So we have our players that can play multiple positions in Alex Caruso, Dalen Terry, that we know they both can play 2, maybe even 3 positions. You got Torrey Craig now who can play the 3 or the 4. You got Andre Drummond, who's just a 5 at this point. I would still like to see them add a 4-5 option that may have a little bit of stretch floor potential that I would like to see. But other than that, I like the way that it's coming together.
I think here's the thing. There's got to be somebody who doesn't get minutes on this team, right? So maybe a Marco does make it, or maybe a Karlik does make it. Like, you're always going to have those players. There's the guys that you don't want playing on every team. But when I look how this bench is rounding out, I see a lot more guys that I do want to see play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a good feeling around Chicago Bulls land. Like, I see the Dalen Terrys. I see the now with Julian Phillips coming in, right? Like, I want to see Julian Phillips play. I want to see what he's going to be.
I would love to see Julian Phillips come in, give that defense, get out in trans. Because if he playing off the bench with Alex Caruso, they're getting out of transition. I would love to see. That's a nice way to build a young player's confidence. Round out their game, right? Let him play in transition with Alex Caruso and dunk and yam on a couple of people's heads as he's working on that shot release. But you know what? Our coach is Billy Bubblegum Donovan. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I think there's going to be questions on who's going to get PT. There's going to be questions on who's realistically going to get in there when it's down to crunch time. And I think no matter what season we go into, there's going to be questions on how he ends up running his rotations just because of who Billy Donovan is. But that's also going to come down to how this team rounds out as a whole. Guess what? I don't have problems with your rotations if you're winning. I don't have problems with your rotations if you're getting the job done. Now, maybe I could sit there and say, hey, listen, I would like to see this guy in maybe a little bit more and see more from him and stuff like that. But if you give me a 49-win season, what I'm going to say? I mean, like, man, I would love to see more Drummond. But every time Drummond gets in, he be in foul trouble. The problem is the one time Drummond knew when to show out last season. The one time that Billy Donovan benched him, the one time Billy didn't put him back in was when he finally put it all together versus Miami. And real talk, Andre Drummond most of the season was sitting there getting 3.5 fouls in the first quarter. And now we sitting in the bonus all year. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It's tough, but he knew when to do it. He knew when to do it. Shout out to Andre Drummond, man. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the bench unit. I'm more concerned about what the starting lineup is going to turn into to impact that bench.
It's funny we're talking about the starting lineup impacting the bench rather than the other way around,
impacting
right?
the starting lineup,
helping out the starting lineup. But I like AK's made a lot of smart moves, and I think by smart I also mean that if he, and you talked about this yesterday, if he needs to come out of any of these contracts, they are all very easily movable contracts. Yeah. So we may literally see at this point maybe a trade deadline where the Bulls look and say, listen, 2 of these players didn't quite get it done for us. But guess what? We can combine those contracts and go after this guy. Before the Bulls didn't, the biggest salaries that we had on the team were all the big 3. And Alex Caruso and Patrick Williams both making like $9 million each. Other than that, it was all these 4, 2s, 1s. It's hard to move those deals without including your starters. If now you need to find a role player and you want to package some other ones, the Bulls are in a nice position to do so. So, we'll end up seeing what that means, man. Next up, though, we're going to talk about the Summer League roster, which has a lot of the guys that we are excited about. Maybe our first look at them. But I want to remind you guys before we get into that, the Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice. You listen on Apple, we're there. Google, we're there. Spotify, we're there. Heck, we're on Amazon Music. We're there. So make sure you guys go and subscribe. Go and subscribe to Locked On Bulls on your favorite podcasting app. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, even if you only watch us on YouTube. But with that being said, Pat, the Summer League, right around the corner. We are 4 days removed from a version of Bulls basketball. I'm actually excited about this, bro. I want to see, there's so many players on this roster that I'm excited to get a look at and see just how it's not the NBA game. It's not the same size. It's not the same speed, but it's more of an NBA system. It's them getting to work on specific things in their game as well. Who right now, other than Dalen Terry, I think that's kind of an easy answer, are you most excited to see on the Summer League roster?
It's got to be Adama Sanago. It's got to be. I mean, like he's the one to me that I have the biggest intrigue in because I really believe that he fits. Right? He's a 6'9" guy who is adding a little bit of a shot. I don't think that's going to be consistent unless it gets much quicker, but adding a little bit of a shot. We know what he brings on the rebounding side. We know what he brings on the defensive end of things. I think he could be a 4 in this NBA if he can add a little bit more of a shot. That's the guy that I'm looking closest at. But realistically, I'm also the person who now is kind of just like Summer League will be fun to watch, but we'll never see any of these guys again because we never saw any of those guys again during the season. Well, that's not true, actually. We saw Javon Freeman Liberty.
We saw Freeman Liberty get some time. Jones.
We just didn't see none of the draft picks or, the people who have contracts for 3 years.
And you know what's funny on this? I did not see this until looking this up. Did you know that Billy Donovan's son is the assistant coach of the Windy City Bulls?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. He has the same hairline. It's unmistakable.
Yeah.
That's a strong gene for your hairline to transfer over. But anyway, side note to that, Adama Sanago is definitely, for me, it's Julian Phillips. I'm super excited to see what Julian Phillips can be, mainly because I feel like he is going to get that role. Man, it may not be to the G League, but I feel like he's going to get that role where it's going to be literally, okay, this whole game is built around what we want Julian Phillips to work on this game. We want him to work on his passing. We're going to get Julian Phillips the ball, run through a bunch of screens. We're going to see how he gets it to you. We want Julian Phillips to shoot. Julian, every time you get off a screen, pick out after the pick, pop out. We're going to go. Oh, that was That was almost a pause moment.
I'm gonna do it just for safety.
Yeah,
Just for
that's
safety.
fair. That's
Just for
fair.
safety.
Shoot the 3 ball. Let's work on that shot. I'm really excited to see that with Julian Phillips. But Adama Sanago, to me, if we're talking about a player that could end up being the overall biggest steal, it could be, I'm talking for the Bulls, not overall in draft. It could be Adama Sanago. You got him as an undrafted rookie. On top of that, like me and you've said it. We've seen the tape. We extensively broke down this man's tape. I don't understand why he didn't get drafted at least.
He's better than Julian Phillips to me.
Oh, for right now, yes, he's better than Julian Phillips.
Like I don't even get to, I don't. Well, I guess maybe Julian Phillips was going to get drafted, and they didn't know that Adama Sanago, or they already knew Adama Sanago wouldn't. But he's better than Julian Phillips to me. Like I see a lot of the players that we want the Bulls to go out and grab. He can be, and so I'm really excited on what his game can be. I'll ask you this though. We were very high on a player last season who ended up getting hurt. Is Justin Lewis done? Is that relationship kind of, because I think me and you both felt about him how we now feel about Sanago, and there's just not enough roster spots for him to be on this Bulls roster at some point.
I mean, well, he has a 2-way deal, so he still will have a 2-way deal. He'll be down in the Windy City Bulls, but you know me, I've always said it. 2-way player contracts, I don't expect to see them while they're on a 2-way. Hell, Marko Simonovic has been down in the G League 2 years, and he's had a fully guaranteed NBA deal. So when it comes to 2-way players,
he can get claimed on a 2-way though, can't he?
No,
can another team claim him on a 2-way?
No. That's why you lock him in on 2-way. Now, I don't know, rookies I think are different. Now, if he just,
Well, he wouldn't be a rookie, is he?
Yeah, he's still considered a rookie. He never played a game. Yeah. So, So I mean, I expect Julian Phillips to be there. I expect him to get a lot of minutes. I'm excited about him too. I just think my expectations right now are tempered with Julian Phillips only because he's coming back from an ACL injury. His game's what I said, Julian Phillips. Justin Lewis. But with Julian Phillips, his game wasn't really based hugely off athleticism. But as we've seen, it takes
Justin Lewis. God damn, why do they draft players with such similar names? Justin Lewis. I'm excited to see Justin Lewis, but the ACL injury just has my expectations tempered a little bit when it comes to Justin Lewis. You think that it's probably not the same player that we thought we were getting at this point?
I mean, I think it's just, even if he is, I think we've seen it. It takes time to work yourself back in and trust that leg and that knee. And I looked into it too. Justin Lewis has never had a major injury of that type before. So I don't think he's not going to just hit the ground running and keep it moving. So,
hey, man, we'll see. BLJ said, Haize almost said Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. Wow.
Bieber for 3.
Listen. All I'm saying is that 7-foot tall boy, Marko Simonovic, say goodbye to him.
That was Billy Donovan checking in. I just had to call Billy real quick. I called Billy real quick.
You got to call Billy, man. Sometimes you got to call Billy. Hey, Zach, what are you doing here?
Well, I just feel like we got the defensive side of things hemmed up, and
Zach, watch your voice get so randomly deep.
We're pissing Rowena off right now.
I'm not talking about right now. I naturally have this deep voice.
I feel like you didn't have that when we heard you on the court the other day.
I'm not talking about.
Zach LaVine is literally Thor at the end of when he met up with the Guardians, and what was that Endgame or whatever, and he was like, this is my natural voice. Like, no, it's not.
I believe that he really talked like that more than you do, but it is funny that that's the one thing about him that you have pointed out.
Have you not noticed? I'm a voice person, bro. Like Karl Anthony Towns. I already told you guys what he sounds like to me. His voice, I never want to see him on the Bulls team because I hate his voice. I would literally drive me crazy to hear his voice every single time.
Hey, listen, it's some bad voices out there in the NBA. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. It's some dudes that don't look nothing like their voice. And then there's Anthony Edwards, who just got the bag today and absolutely looks exactly like his voice. Like, man, Michael, you could have helped him out a little bit. But you know that's his son. I was upset today. I wanted to see him in a Bulls jersey today.
He can't do it, bro. Do you understand how crazy those rumors would be if he ever plays for the Chicago Bulls, bro? It's over.
What if he shaves his head and comes here? Because I feel like he would do it just to mess with people. I feel like he would do it just to mess with people, bro. If he shaves his head. Hey, man, let me ask you this. One last thing. When you look at the young guys who are on this team, that are going to be playing in Summer League. When you look at the bench as a whole, kind of a overall look, and even the signing of Torrey Craig, an overall show close on this one.
Does it feel like the damn show?
No, I said, oh, Jesus, so aggressive. Just mad because Julian Phillips and Justin Lewis are the same guy. Right. Do you feel like AKME is building this team based on what the new CBA is and has been building this team that way with the knowledge of it the entire time? Because I look at how these contracts fall. I look at going after some of these young guys. And while I feel like you're not going after the best guys you can get in some scenarios, I also look at it and I say, well, that makes a lot of sense now that I know what this new CBA is. And we didn't know that 3 years ago.
Here's what I'll say. The Bulls team has been preparing for the new CBA for the last 20 years. We don't pay the luxury tax. We're good. Like, it doesn't matter. We don't pay the luxury tax. We're good.
It wasn't AK.
We're good.
It had nothing to do with AK. Jerry's been prepping for this CBA since Jordan was here.
He heard. He was like, hey, I think they're going to think about this luxury tax thing. What's the natural progression from that? Eventually, they're going to hard cap it. So here's what we're going to do. We're never going to pay the luxury tax. We're good.
Scotty, you shouldn't take this deal, Scotty. You shouldn't take this deal. I don't know that you shouldn't take the deal, Scotty. I wouldn't take it. I'm a billionaire, but what do I know? You shouldn't
Imagine
take the
going
deal.
to a job interview and the person you're interviewing with says, you shouldn't take this job. And you take it anyway.
Let me get that money.
No matter what happens, you got only yourself to blame. That's why you're so salty right now.
Scottie Pippen was making like $5 million for 30 years, bro. That mess is crazy. I'm talking about the entire time. Like
they had him locked in on that deal, the lock sign with P. Diddy, bro. Like, he was never going to get out of that joint, bro. Like, it's over with. People talk about Birdman taking Lil Wayne money. Hey, Jerry Reinsdorf had that locked 20 years before that, brother.
It's just Jerry Reinsdorf in the back of every Bulls game.
Hey, y'all not getting this content anywhere else, bro. Y'all not getting this
Hit
content
that like button,
anywhere.
subscribe to the page, bro. Jerry Reinsdorf is dancing in the back of every single Bulls video. You just got to watch it. It was all over The Last Dance, man. Hey, man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Y'all stay safe out there. Jerry, get out of here.
Hey,
Go
listen,
dance.
One thing that's for certain. We are never getting offered a job at Jerry Reinsdorf's new network, bro. We've burnt that bridge before the bridge was even built, bro. Like, it's done. Like,
No bridge, bro. We in the river. We swimming. We are in Lake Michigan right now.
We're in Michigan right now, bro. That's crazy. You guys can follow me at CEO Haize, the CEO Haize. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down any other news that happens with the Chicago Bulls. If not, we're going to talk about this roster and why Pat the Designer may end up being our starting point guard. We're going to get to all that and more next week, tomorrow, maybe. Before Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls, y'all. Man, we out here.
Peace. Music came in real sensitive on that one. Well, that music came in like Zach LaVine. As long as it don't come in like Jalen Green.
No Jalen Green on this show. Thank God.